Arriving in a new country can be an exhilarating yet daunting experience. Depending on your approach and your length of stay, the way that you research this country and the things that you do will be very different. Now, in this video today, I'm going to share with you a first-hand experience about how not everything goes quite as planned. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Paul. I'm a 42-year-old husband and father of two young, beautiful girls here in South Korea. And almost 20 years ago, I left the UK in search of a better, brighter future. So, everybody, today's video, as you can see by the title, is going to be the reasons behind me choosing Canada for my first country. Now let's take you all the way back into 2005 when I graduated with a BA degree in business, where I thought I was unstoppable. I was someone who was going to reach the very, very top even at 23 years old. That was my vision, that was my goal. That was the confidence that I had at the time. And it didn't quite work out that way, okay? Because life is obviously not quite that easy. Now, at that stage in my life, I applied for many jobs and I didn't get anything at all. So I was disheartened, okay? I was leaving the UK not because I was running away from the UK. I was leaving the UK in defiance, in anger, in frustration that there was no opportunities for the young, educated British person. And so, what did I do? Well, I had to research and look into different countries that I could go to in my first year away alone. Now, before I get into the reasons for Canada, I was given an option way back then. And two of my best friends were at that stage traveling and having a nice time in Sydney, Australia. Now, a lot of British citizens often go to Australia. It's a great destination for a holiday, for vacations, but it's also a very popular place for students and young working holiday visa applicants. And the reason that they really like Australia is, of course, the culture is pretty similar. The language is, of course, English, so it's the same. The weather is very, very nice. And I think way back in 2005, 2006, the cost of living was not quite as bad as it is today in Australia. So my option was either to go with my two best friends to Australia and try and get a working holiday visa there. And it was almost for 2 years, so it would have been, a long time and maybe a great escape from the UK. Or I could go the hard way and do a solo trip, solo travel, and go to North America, specifically Canada or USA at that point. Now, I was asking the reasons why my friends loved Sydney and Australia so much, and they were often giving me the reasons towards like partying, drinking, meeting girls, right? At that age, they were doing things that guys do, having a great time, part-time jobs, maybe coffee shops, supermarkets, or fruit picking in the countryside in Australia, getting some money together to travel with the working holiday visa. And of course, their goal was to try and stay more long-term if they could. Now, the other option and the other hand was either go to America or Canada on a working holiday visa for 1 year. So I thought about this and I thought about this. I got some advice from my parents who didn't really understand why I was going in the first place, but they obviously wanted me to choose Australia with my friends as opposed to going alone. I chose alone, okay? Very hard decision for me at that stage because I felt like I was going to be drifting apart from my friends. But it's something I had to do for me to improve myself. I had to go the hard route. Remember I spoke about this in one of my previous videos? Well, that's the decision that I took way back then. Now, we've chosen to go ourselves, okay? So the options at this stage we have is America and Canada. My first choice, believe it or not, this might surprise you, was America. Now, I wanted to spend some time in Alaska. I don't know why, but I've been fascinated by Alaska all of my life, okay? It's a place that for me is pretty magical. It's the middle of nowhere. It seems to be, obviously it's a very, very northern, western point of North America. Way, way, way up there, all the way past Canada. It just seems so remote, okay? And for me, coming from Scotland and my experience of living kind of, in my own space, my own area in the country house, it kind of was very attractive, right? And so I really wanted to go there. And I was thinking, what am I going to do in Alaska, right? What kind of jobs are available? Well, I'll tell you what's available. A husky dog trainer. That's right. That was the first job I applied for, a husky dog trainer, preparing the huskies for I think it was like the seasonal race, maybe in like Christmas time, pulling the sleigh. What a cool job, right? And I was thinking, what an experience that would be. Maybe I could set up life in Alaska. Maybe I could marry some Alaskan girl. Maybe I could have my own kennels in I don't know, look after huskies for the rest of my days. I love dogs. I love animals. I love nature. I love peace and quiet. I love tranquility. I love being alone. I'm a little social too. I was refused. Okay, so it kept going, right? In the UK, I was refused for jobs. In Alaska, I was refused for the husky dog trainer. Maybe a good thing in the end, but the same answer, not enough experience. I mean, who has experience in training husky dogs for a sleigh race? I don't know, but certainly not this Scotsman. All right, so we don't have America on the cards anymore. I didn't really want to go to mainland America. I wanted to go to Canada because in 2002, I'd previously spent 2 weeks in Toronto. And it was a cool experience. I love Toronto, right? It was very nice. But the only problem with Toronto was I went in wintertime because of cheap flights, and it was freezing. February 2002, the coldest winter that I think I've ever felt. It was minus 36 wind chill one day in Toronto. The snow was very high. And even though I was wearing 5 layers of clothes, my skin was covered in red blotches. So I quickly thought to myself, this is not really a place that I can live. Or maybe I just go away for winter and come back in summer. But, Toronto it's a cool place, but it's just a big city, and it was kind of grey in the winter time and cold. So I decided to focus on the West Coast. Now, in Canada, there is a place called Vancouver. It's on the West Coast. It's not very far from the American-Canadian border. And for me, looking at pictures, one of my favorite movies was Happy Gilmore growing up. Stanley Park was in Happy Gilmore. This is Vancouver. It looks beautiful, right? And on the outside looking in, I was thinking, wow, this place is magical. It's not too far from the Rocky Mountains. Obviously, British Columbia is a beautiful part of Canada. You've got the Whistler Mountains in summer for the downhill mountain biking. You've got it in winter for the snowboarding, which I love. So for me, Vancouver ticked all the boxes. Weather, check. A lot of rain, perfect for this Scottish guy. Us Scots are used to rain. We're used to 4 seasons in one day. Rain, let's just say spring, summer, winter, fall, autumn for us Brits. So for me, the weather was absolutely perfect. In wintertime, it's not going to be quite as cold. Again, great. If I want snow, I can go up to Whistler Mountain, or I can go to the East Coast. So Vancouver for me was definitely the place that I wanted to go. I knew it was a multicultural city. I didn't quite know just how multicultural it was going to be, but at that point in time, that's how I chose Vancouver. Okay, so the only things that remained for me to do at that stage was to book my flight, get on the plane, and leave home. Now that is a very, very scary decision. Okay, at 23 years old when you're leaving home for the first time. It's the daunting part, right? But it's also the exhilarating part. It's the part when you feel life, you feel energy running through your blood. You're free, okay? You can tackle this life. What makes us stay in one place? Why do we have to stay in our own country? When I release videos with the topic of the UK is dying, this relates to how I feel when I left the country and now. When I left the country, I felt like there was no opportunity, but I didn't feel like the UK was dying. I just felt that maybe I was just growing apart. It wasn't offering me what I wanted. But now when I look at the UK, I feel like it is dying completely compared to what I used to know. Back in the late 90s, the UK was wonderful, and I know there was many problems there too, but it was a fun place to be. Prices were not crazy. I was young, okay? So obviously as a child, in my childhood, it's different than being an adult. I had no responsibilities, but it was a fantastic place to grow up. It wasn't that dangerous, right? And I know every country has problems, but specifically these days in the UK, it just feels like the government are out to destroy everything. And also those who control governments too, right? So it's not an immigration thing, folks. Please don't get me wrong on this. I'm not blaming immigrants. I'm an immigrant myself. I emigrated from the UK. That's not the problem. The problem is the government who set, the mandates, who set the rules, who set the laws, who are controlling. So that's what I just wanted to clear up right there. Sorry for that little rant. Going back to moving to Vancouver, you're going to have to do your research. You're going to have to spend a lot of time into choosing the country that suits you in your first year. Now, your first year doesn't have to actually mean you're going to stay there for the rest of your life. What is most important about going to a city or a country is you're going to a place that you can meet people. Meet people that are possibly like-minded than you, but like-minded, but also people that you can make connections, you can build relationships with, because through these connections, through these relationships, you can open different doors, okay? And those different doors are going to lead you onto different paths in your life. The next video that I'm going to release on this channel is a very, very interesting video that is first-hand experience, and I've lived through it. So stay tuned for that. Now, if you're going to a country on short-term notice as opposed to maybe trying to set up roots, obviously your feeling is very different. And I've got a few notes here on my phone that I just want to share with you. So the first thing that I have here is temporary stay. Now, I was there on a 1-year holiday, working holiday visa. Temporary? No, I felt like 1 year was like massive. At 23 years old, 1 year is a huge amount of time in your life. These days, as a father, 1 year goes so fast, right? It's pretty scary. 42, the next thing I know, I'm going to be 43, 44. When does it end, folks? When does it end, right? Can't we just stay the same age forever? Well, I'm afraid that's not the case. So a mindset, if you're going to travel for longer than a month or two, your mindset should not be tourist mindset, okay? You should be trying to, settle yourself into the system. Now, the biggest mistake that I made that I spoke about in previous videos was my mindset for going there for 12 months was a tourist mindset. I went to Vancouver and I spent over £5,000 in the first 3 months. Now, that's a lot of money. That was my car that I sold. And what happens after 3 months? Paul's struggling for money, right, to pay his hostel. Paul needs to get job number 1, job number 2, job number 3. Paul needs to grow up fast. Paul needs to learn fast. I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I did. That's the whole point of this channel, talking through my experience to help you. So it's very important that you have the right mindset when you travel to a new country. Be open-minded, welcome people. Have a smile on your face, be approachable, be sociable. And that's why I really, really recommended staying in a hostel, right? Because every single day you're going to have this interaction, you're going to have those experiences, you're going to have the keys to lock doors that you can unlock every single day that open up to new realms and new possibility and new futures for yourself, new connections. Excuse me. Okay, so priorities. If you're living somewhere short term, now short term we're talking about the average British culture holiday. You work your ass off the whole year to get a 2-week vacation in Egypt or a 2-week vacation in Spain, which you deserve. Trust me, you deserve it for working yourself almost to death the whole year in the UK. You enjoy that 2 weeks, right? But the problem is it's running out. After that first week is over, you feel like it's a slippery slope all the way to the airport. Time goes fast. 2 weeks is not enough, folks. 2 weeks is not enough. That's reality. But I know some of you cannot get any more than 2 weeks off. I know some of your parents, you cannot keep your kids longer off school for 2 weeks. Let me speak to you as a 23-year-old that I was back in the days. A working holiday visa gives you that option for 12 months, for 24 months. Now, when you go to a place for a year and you know you're going to stay there for a year, it's totally, totally different. That's why your mindset has to be different. You have to budget your money. You can't go to restaurants every single day. You can't go out partying every single day. Trust me, I did it, and that's why I was £5,000 down after 3 months. So, your priorities should be achieving some sort of objective. Now, if you're there for a year, what's your objective? Why are you doing the working holiday visa? Why are you in this country? Why did you choose Canada? Well, my objective was to gain experience, was to grow up. I wanted to grow up. I wanted to be more independent. I wanted to test myself. I wanted to push myself, but also I wanted to prove my country wrong. I wanted to prove my family wrong. You can't do that. I'm going to do it, right? So that was my mindset. I can do whatever I want to do. It's just a matter of doing it, okay? And that's what I believe for everybody. It's just a matter of actually doing it. That's the whole point in life, So that's the message I'm trying to get across here. So priorities. Try and put something at the top of your priority list. If it's to make new friends, do it. Get into a hostel, not a hotel, right? You want to do something that's going to give you the best chance to achieve your goals. Okay, challenges. What are the negative aspects of staying somewhere I think if your time is limited, it's pretty overwhelming. Sometimes when you go on vacation for just 2 weeks, you're absolutely exhausted by the end of it because you're trying to do so many things. Now, some of us are people that love to see the outdoors, love to see the sights, and some of us just want to relax and unwind. That's fantastic, okay? I'm a bit of both, right? I like to chill out, but I also like to see some places, but I can't do it every day. It's absolutely exhausting, right? But if you're in a place for a year, you're going to have a fantastic chance to do just that. Go as many places as you want. Now in Vancouver, I spent a lot of time in Whistler Mountain, right? If you don't know Whistler Mountain, check it out on Google. It's a beautiful place. We went to downhill mountain biking in the summer, me and a few mates from the hostel, and it was just the most amazing experience. Staying in a hostel up there in Whistler, going back in winter time with different friends, going snowboarding where I used to go mountain biking, seeing black bears out in the wild when I was going downhill mountain biking. Just an amazing experience, right? All of these things are possible when you go to other countries, but you have to schedule your time. You cannot do too much in too little time. That's the negative part of short-term travel. Now, if you're there for a year, I think then you can start to form deeper relationships. I think then you can start to grasp the culture. I think then you can start to just relax and live a kind of normal life as, not a Canadian, but as someone who has a little bit of time on their hands. After 3 months, I moved into my own apartment. That made a huge difference to me. I was working, right? I was getting connections. I was building relationships through workmates. I made that initial team of friends from the hostel that continued on throughout the year. Some of them continue on now, and they will be part of the next video that I put up. And finally is some advice, okay? So I would say if you're going abroad for the first year, engage as much as you can with the locals. You're not looking to make other British friends if you're British. Your goal is not to make, my goal was never to make a Scottish friend in Canada. My goal was to make as many foreign friends as I could. Now the lucky thing for me was Canada is full of multiculturalism. The food, the people, the places, the history. Now in Canada there was Koreans, there was Japanese, there was Americans, there was Canadians, there was Europeans like me, there was Australians, there was Kiwis from New Zealand. So many different people in the same place, and the fantastic thing about that is because you're all there primarily for the same goal of meeting people, opening your mind, living your life, right? Getting new experiences, you've got a lot in common. And so conversation is not a hard thing to start, and building friendships is a lot easier when that happens. That's why it's magical traveling alone. Because when you're with your best buddies, and this takes me back right to the start of the video, when you're with your best buddies, it can almost close those doors. It can make things too easy. It can make you lazy. And those people that you would approach because you're on your own, or those people that would approach you because you're on your own, it's no longer an option, right? And it kind of ruins your experience. So I'm so glad the decision I took way back then to initially go to Canada. Now, folks, it only lasted 1 year, right? I wasn't able to get a longer visa than 1 year. So I actually had to come back to the UK. Well, what happened next for Paul? You might know if you watched a few videos, but you don't know why. And that's the big one for me. Sometimes in life, things don't always go according to plan. That is okay. That's not a big problem. We have to adapt. We have to be flexible. These are all skills that you will learn once you work and live abroad. Now, I wish you all the best of luck in your journeys. Please do your research. Please look into it as much as you can. Don't forget, you need to have money behind you, some kind of money. I would say at least £3,000 to initially support you for your first few months of travel. If you're looking to start a life abroad, please take your time, but don't put all your eggs into one basket. Don't go to one country and think, if this doesn't work, my life is over. What am I going to do? You can meet amazing people, no matter which country it is you go to, that can lead you on another journey. And that's my advice today. Just try to live life with an open mind, with open eyes. Don't let too much negativity try to bring you down. There are negative people everywhere, folks, everywhere. I'm hoping to bring some positivity onto this channel It is not my goal to bring negativity to this channel. It's positivity, it's motivation, it's courage. I'm trying to give you the advice that I learned firsthand without it. Okay, so I lived it, I made mistakes, I made good decisions too. Let me share all of these wonderful things with you on this channel. Thank you for watching today. It's my pleasure as always. Have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves, all right? And I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.